Soho Theater. Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I don't know if I'm the only one who cares, but have y'all seen what's happening with Duolingo? Okay, in case you're not familiar, Duolingo is an app where you learn other languages, supposedly. It's basically this app where they gamify learning another language through like quizzes and little mini games, little mini quests and stuff. And I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, but everybody I know that uses Duolingo still speaks English to me. Just throwing that out there. And you know, over time it was getting more expensive, and over time there would be mistakes that were in the games and in the programs, which were kind of, I don't know how you would put it, but basically it was kind of forgivable because you felt like you were getting that real-time help through a person, you know? So then a person would see through comments, oh, this is messed up, oh, let me fix it, it actually should have been like this. And you were really getting like a sort of language learning community going under Duolingo, which is the point, you would think, to learn a new language, to talk to more people. It'd be kind of weird to learn language just to be like, I did it. And no one will ever know. I'm just gonna go to whole countries, know what they saying and not tell anybody. I have the power. I only think like a psychopath would do that. Like I've seen those viral videos of people being like in Japan and no one thinks that this black person in Japan speaks Japanese, so then they like are recording themselves or they're streaming and then someone says something about them and then they're like, boom, I know Japanese. And the person's like, what? How? You don't look like it. You know? That actually would have been a fire ad for Duolingo back in the day. It's just like, have you like eating at like a fast food spot, everyone around you roasting you, everybody getting one in, like, and the back of his head, look at it, look, I can see right through it. Does he even know he got that bald spot? The bald spot fighting for his life is shiny. It's like a flashlight. And then you bounce back, you're like, I know French. What? I'm so embarrassed. I was being rude in undercover. Duolingo. But no, that's not what happened. You know, people were slowly learning these languages over time. And learning is like a hard, it's a hard way to describe it because it's not as if the language was fully being taught. It's not like the same thing as sitting in a class being taught the tenses, being taught the situations to say certain things versus other things. It's more just like, did you spell we right? That's a little French. Have some of that. And so over time, you see Duolingo also get this internet presence that's like, their socials team is very like in vogue. You know, they get in there, they're funny in the comments, spicy comments too. Sometimes they got a quick jab back whenever somebody tries to trash Duolingo. And I don't know how I feel about it. If I'm being honest, it's like through our tax systems and through the economy, we already treat these companies like people. I don't know if I want to pretend that they're also interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like when I see a Twitter handle for a company, I don't want to be like, oh, they're so moody today. I can't believe Microsoft's so angry. You know, because it's not like it's not an individual, it's a company. And there are individuals making that company feel like your friend, but they're not your friend. They're not your friend at all. And then they do this move, which is wildly unpopular, where they release a statement where they say, we're going to be an AI first company, which is a interesting title to give yourself. You could have said customer first, you could have said teacher first, and you could have not said anything. already noticing, they were like, I think there's like less people working there now. I feel like some of my answers don't get answered in the right way. Some of the lessons even feel a bit like Chat GPT-ish, you know? And then they came out and said it. They're like, look, we're going to use AI and you're going to learn just the same as you've been learning. And I had friends who were like, I'm not learning anything already. And honestly, what's the fun of using Duolingo if you could just use any sort of like open AI, any sort of AI program to make your own learning course? If it's AI, then what's special about it? And so you see people, big backlash. Every time they even tweet, post anything, people are like, was this written by AI? You know? And it gets to the point where I don't really know if they were hacked or not, or if that's just like part of the marketing scheme, but basically they took down everything. Because they were getting trashed. Because, you know, they want to be expensive. They want to hire less people. They want to essentially disregard, disrespect, or just get rid altogether of their teachers and have you pay, I think, $20 a month to not learn French. And so people were rightfully upset. And so they take everything down, and then they post it again, and they post it as the is it a frog? I mean, I think it's a bird. It's an owl? So they posted with a guy in a owl costume. And that guy was using like the deep, distorted voice, talking about how the elites ruin Duolingo. And I was like, yeah, but aren't you... What's happening? And then I think it was the CEO that even came out, and instead of giving some sort of statement that basically says, hey, look, yes, we're going to be using AI, but we're still going to have our teachers, and our teachers are going to just use AI for some of the menial tasks, but you'll still be talking to a teacher. Instead of reassuring the customers at all, he kind of just doubled down and was like, look, the AI is going to be better than teachers anyway. That people got really mad. And I think what's happening here is what's happening all the time. Teaching is hard. Teaching is very difficult. And if you love something and you love it enough to teach it, that to me is amazing. I don't know if I know anything well enough to teach it. And I don't know if I have the patience to convey those ideas in an efficient enough way that you know what I know when I'm done talking. That's scary. I would never try to teach. I don't know, even things that I'll admit right now, even things that I'm pretty sure about, I don't know enough about to teach. I believe in climate change, but if you asked me about climate change when I got done talking about climate change, you wouldn't believe in climate change. When I got done talking, you'd be like, everything he said sound made up. Because teaching is very, very difficult, and we forget. From every perspective, teaching is difficult. It's difficult in and of itself alone to be in your head, have the idea, convey the idea in a way that gets through someone else's head. You gotta get past all the video games and all the crushes and all the, just to be like, math. That's already hard enough. Never mind the fact that like kids are difficult. I'm not just talking about like junior high or all of them. I remember being difficult as a kid. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I wanted to learn the thing. It was not getting in. I was fighting it. I didn't even know it. Sometimes I'd even be a little pompous, you know? Like I'll admit it, as a little kid, give me some grace. As a child, I was a flat earther. When I was little, I was a flat earther because, my teacher tried to teach me about the globe and all the countries around the globe and stuff like that and how the earth was round. And I was like, Just gonna throw this out there for you. Feels pretty flat to me. I know I haven't been all over the world, but never been, sideways. So I think it's pretty flat. Sorry to embarrass you while you're talking to the whole class, but... And then my teacher very graciously was like, oh, yeah, this is sadly a common misconception. It's not actually flat. The earth is round. I'm like, oh, huh. Not to contradict you, ma'am, but if the earth is round, why are all the maps flat? Truly, as an 8-year-old, I thought I had a mic drop moment. I was like, I rest my case. That's up there with you. You the one projected that thing. So, maybe I should have the chalk. I'm just saying. And then my teacher pulled out a globe. Because it's difficult. And look, I'm not a parent. And I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent the same way I can't imagine what it's like to be a teacher. But I see some of the friction that parents have with teachers sometimes, whether they think that they could do it better or that they think it must not be their kid, it must be the teacher. And I thought that all would have been settled through COVID. You remember that time where everybody was alone with their kids? To see how well they sort of grasped everything? I don't think enough teachers got an apology. I feel like 2021, you should show up to your kid's school and be like, I didn't know he just wouldn't take the words in. Like, I really thought it was you this entire time, but nah, he hates science. That's his kryptonite. It's also hard because I think the way that we look at teaching is as the obstacle as opposed to as the help, right? Like even now, if someone tries to teach you something, there's some reluctance there sometimes. What it used to be, you're a kid and these adults, they don't know what they're talking about and try to teach me something. And then you become an adult and you're like, why do you think you can teach me something? We're the same age. And then you get older, and then someone younger than you has something to say, and you're like, why do you think you can teach me something? You don't even know about the world, right? So I think that a lot of people, myself included, sometimes have a reluctance to learning in general, especially because there's a sort of like hubris around getting an idea. When you get an idea, you feel like you got it. I snatch that, It's like when people say that they're self-taught, but then they tell you how they taught themselves. I went to my friend's house. He built a whole deck. And I was like, that's incredible. I didn't know you did construction. He's like, I don't. I was like, how'd you build a deck? He's like, self-taught. And I was like, how did you teach yourself to build a deck? And he's like, I just watched this guy on YouTube for like 75 hours or whatever. I had to watch some of the videos over and over again because I was scared I was going to mess up my cuts and everything. But then I got it. Yeah. Then he taught you. That's not self-taught at all. 75 hours of listening to some other dude talk, he might as well have been here. Because there's a deep respect that I have for teachers because they cared about something so much that they were willing to learn more about it than they ever probably had to, just to teach it to someone else, to share the thing that they love. My math teacher loved math so much that she went to more school for math, and then she came back, got a teaching degree, and then came back and taught a lower math than she understood. She has to dumb down math every day just to bring it to me, and just to try to give me some math. She went through all that, and I don't know how we did it. It's kind of incredible that all over the world, we somehow managed to not pay teachers enough and not give them enough, like in every country, no matter where you go. And so I bring it up because I think that I'm not a teacher, but I think the thing that teachers fall in love with is like that light bulb. Watching someone get something that you understand that you're giving to them, and then it clicks. And they're like, oh, whether they're a little kid, little bitty kid. I remember a teacher at school is who really taught me how to tie my shoes. Like really put it together for me in my head. Obviously, my grandma tied my shoes and would show me how to do it while she was doing it. My mom would tie my shoes. My dad would tie my shoes. But she was the one that was like, no, we're going to practice. I'm just going to tie it. We're going to practice. And so then she tied it because I ran up to her after recess. I had been falling, right? I'd been tripping hard. I was doing that, you know, that Looney Tunes drag where your legs go up? Because I was getting a good start, and then I'd step on a lace, and I'd go, whoa! And so, ran up to her. I was like, hey, can you help me tie my shoes? Just both. Laces couldn't be further from my feet. Just, can you help me tie my shoes? And she was like, sure. And then she tied both my shoes for me. And then just like that, she pulled the string and untied them both. And I was like, oh. I'd never been betrayed before. It's like, oh, why would you, what's wrong with you? And she was like, no, I've tied your shoes a couple days in a row. I'm not gonna tie them anymore. We're gonna tie them together. And so for the rest of recess, sat down, tied my shoes over and over again until the last time I tied them and I didn't even notice it. And then for the rest of the time I was in elementary school, every time she saw me, shoes tied, she saw that light bulb go off. Oh. And no matter how reluctant someone is to be taught, it's a beautiful thing when that happens. When the idea gets through and you can see it. You see the light bulb go off. Oh, it's round. Who would have thought? You know? And so, I don't know what it's like. I see this move in Duolingo towards AI, and that move towards AI is not to give you, the consumer, a better product. It's not to help the actual teachers who are passionate about people learning other languages so they can make new friends or have new experiences or just open their minds up to how big the world really is. When you understand language and you understand how many different ways there are to say something specifically and how few ways there are to say something very unique, you have an appreciation for communication, right? And that's not what Duolingo is looking to do. They would like to make more money. And it's a business, so to be fair, more money would be nice. That's what you're supposed to do at business. No one shows up to business like, did you make any friends? But that is why they're making that move towards AI. And I see that thing happening in places that do make me worry. Like, I don't know much about the UK school system or anything. I don't know if it's good or bad or how y'all feel about it. I just know the stories that I've been seeing where there are some schools that are looking to introduce and implement AI teachers, like AI taking over the classroom. And I don't know, that really worries me because I think that you need a teacher, you need a person to watch you get it. That's part of the human experience. To watch you get it is great. Being in a classroom that's led by AI has to be like being in a driverless car. And you get in, and they tell you it's safe. They tell you it'll get you where you're going, but you get in, and, you know, maybe they programmed it to make sure it makes the light, but not to speed, you know. But you're in the back seat for some reason. I mean, I guess there's no wheel, so might as well. And you're just looking out the windshield the whole time like, okay, they say this is how you get there, but I've never gone this way before. And now you're just sitting there like, oh, I think you missed the left. Oh. Really nobody to talk to in here, so sort of talking to myself. Oh, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus. Because one thing about being here that that I cannot stress enough, the way y'all's buses move. is wildly different than what I'm used to. If I'm being honest, I don't know how you train your bus drivers. Or what happens when a bus driver hits a person, but it looks like they're trying to find out every turn. I was crossing the street to come here, and the bus driver cut the wheel so hard in front of me and looked at me the entire time. But you're in this driverless car, and it says it's going to get you where you're going. And so maybe you should trust it. Who knows? But sometimes prefer a person, you know? I know that we don't necessarily treat everything this way. Like, the best example I can give is when it comes to school and how kids are using ChatGPT and other AI to do their homework for them or do the lesson for them and turn it in. The big fear there is that they will not know how to think to a conclusion, right? Like if we're being honest, and this isn't to disparage what anyone teaches or how they teach it, but a lot of the actual lessons you learn in school don't matter as much as you taking the steps to get to the end product, right? Like it isn't imperative that you read Mark Twain. But it is good that you read something that is not how the people that you know talk, and it's not from a time that you live in, and it opens up your mind to that the world might be different, you know? And the fear is that if kids use this thing too much, if it's completely abused, that you'll essentially graduate someone who is illiterate and not able to think critically about anything. And they'll be a doctor. And I get that. I get that fear. But you also have to look at it from the perspective of those kids, because they're essentially being told that, look, we try to teach you well so that you can go out into the world and be productive and maybe get a good job. But as far as good jobs, we're like done with those. So you're not going to get one that's going to go to AI. But don't use the AI to cheat. You got to read the whole book slow so we could be impressed by how the AI reads it fast. And so I understand how a lot of kids feel like they don't have stake in the type of future that the work that they're expected to do would link them up with, you know? Like there's this idea that if you do everything right, you'll reap the rewards, but we're already telling you the rewards won't be there by the time you get done. And so I see things like them bringing AI into these UK schools and paying for these programs. You have to ask yourself, is this really coming out of the kindness of someone's heart? Or is this to make money? Is there a company that will make money? And surely there is. Because the programs range in prices. There's one program, though, that is being implemented in school. I think I could be wrong about the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that the amount that the program is going to cost the school is like £27,000, which I'm not saying is the best salary in the world, but you could pay that to a person, you know? And it just freaks me out because I only know what it's like in the American school system, which is scary enough. And not just because of the shootings. It's also... it's not because the I'm saying the American school system is already difficult enough because you have underpaid and overworked teachers that have to take extra jobs and just fight for their lives and then still spend their own money to get supplies for kids to do the work that they're expected to do, all right? Just to like stay even slightly above water. So how can you not expect this kid who's already been given less resources than kids in other districts and kids who, you know, by some accident happen to go to a great school or happen to be in a place with money, how can you not expect them to use ChatGPT to get them to close the gap? And how can you not expect these teachers to be like, I already drive Uber, deliver pizza, and teach geography. I don't know if I can try to find the AI. You know? Because you can get really far without knowing. Actually, that's one thing I think about all the time. I don't know if your schools are good or not, but I also don't know if it matters, at least to Americans, because if you come over to the U.S. with your accent, we'll believe you. Like, people in the U.S. fall for the British accent so hard, it's kind of unfair that we were ever number one. Like even a lot of the conspiracy theories that we believe in the U.S. did kind of come from a British guy who just talks smooth. You know, like he comes over after y'all kicked him out for being too wild, and then he's like, you know, there's lizards in all the people. And we're like, when he says it, it makes sense. You know? Y'all have some phenomenal exports. But you do have some rough ones. You know? Like, why did y'all do, like that, sending Piers Morgan to us. It almost constitutes an act of war. I don't know who else you could have sent that Boris Johnson wouldn't have been as destructive as Piers Morgan on our TV all the time. That was, what did we ever do to you? I'd like to think that the UK holds like centuries-long grudges. And like, okay, all right, y'all think you cute. You think you cute, you gonna leave me. Just wait. Wait like 200 years. I'm gonna send the most annoying man that's ever lived to be on 3 of your news stations every day. Well, because it's difficult. I mean, you can get really far without knowing much. That's scary. And that's even before AI. Ask Piers Morgan. You can get so far without knowing anything. In fact, there was a teacher in the U.S. This blew my mind. This teacher, and look, I'd have to look it up again, but I was throwing it out there. British man. It just sort of backs up my point. This dude taught in the U.S. for 8 years, and he couldn't read. He couldn't read. Imagine somebody failing you who can't read. Imagine you turning your paper and they're like, I don't even know what this says, but it looked wrong. Like, this looks like garbage, man. Nah, this dude really figured it out. This is one of those stories that kind of went semi-viral before virality was like well established. So before YouTube and like things could pop off on Twitter, Facebook, or anything, this dude got his maybe his master's or something, and started teaching. And I think he was teaching like middle school, and taught middle school for like 8 years. Could never read, but what he would do was he was very good at picking out personalities. This was his talent. This was his thing that he had used his entire life. He could read people. He couldn't read words, but he knew. He knew people so perfectly, he could laser into them, and he knew so much about you just by looking at you. And one of the things he would do every year, every semester, he would lock in on like 2 or 3 of the smartest kids in class. Just naturally smart, just genuinely gifted. And he would have them, you know, read a paragraph or 2 to the class starting the lesson. And then he would basically, watching over them, kind of get the smart kids to teach all the other kids. And it was astounding. That's wild. I'm sure that's what they think the AI will do. I'm sure that's what this dude would lock in, and he'd just see, okay. He'd be like, today, can you read page 11? Can you read page 12? Can you read page 13? And we'll all just take notes in our books as we go. right? As the kids would be taking notes, as the other kids were reading and everything. And one of the things that he said in his defense, he's like, show me where the kids that I taught aren't proficient in what I was teaching. You know, my methods work. And it's fitting that he was teaching middle school too, because middle schoolers are some bullies. A middle schooler is the only one with the real audacity to be like, I don't think he can read. That would never happen in higher education. Like, if you're getting your master's and your professor can't read, you would second guess yourself. You'd be like, no, I must be missing something. He must just be like so locked in that he never looks at the book. No, only a middle schooler would be like, I bet you he can't read, dog. Because a middle schooler will blackmail you too. A middle schooler would be like, hey, look, it's A's for me and my boys the rest of the year. Or we telling everybody you can't read. That's A, as in the first letter. That's A as in the first letter that you can't read, because you can't read, okay? If I even see a closed A that look like a B, I'm telling everybody. Imagine that. Imagine getting caught. Imagine principal, vice principal got to pull you into the office. You sitting down, you know, because the kids loved him. He never gave homework. You sitting down, what's going on, y'all? How's everything going? We need to talk to you about something that's a bit troubling. We are hearing, it's honestly hard to even say this out loud. I feel so embarrassed even bringing it up, but there have been some accusations by some students and maybe a few parents as well that you ooh. Because you gotta think about it. If you're wrong, you look so crazy as the principal. If you're wrong, you look like you believe everything you've ever been told in your life. If you're a principal that drags a teacher into a room to be like, can you read? Like, you hired me. Like, can I read? Principal sitting him down. Okay, look, so there have been some concerns and some accusations by some students and some parents that your literacy is not in the room with us. You know, and I don't know if they would have the teacher in there by himself or they'd have the kid that accused him of not being able to read because he didn't get the A he wanted. Maybe he's sitting there. Teacher, this is preposterous. You know, words you say when you don't know how to spell it. This is preposterous. Me not be able to read. What? How dare you? How absolutely dare you? Kid sitting there. Make him read something. Make him read something. He gonna do it anyway if he can do it. They try to get him to sign his resignation letters. They're like, can you read it? I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. Kid sitting there, that means no. No? And that's my fear. That's my big fear, is that you let this system start, it only benefits companies, and before you know it, it's an entire generation, an entire country of people who aren't proficient in thinking skills. They can't think critically. They're not truly literate. And never mind not just reading for fun. They do not really grasp how important reading is, because you can either cheat the AI or the AI has the best interests of the company in mind. Because that's another thing that was happening with Duolingo. It's just all these ads started popping up, ads for companies, because they're a company that's trying to make money, you know? And so what if that happens? What if you implement so much AI into all of these schools and it goes left? How fast can you train an entire generation of teachers that were burned out and underpaid and overwhelmed to begin with? You know? That means that you could have an entire generation of UK teachers coming to the US not knowing how to read and teaching our kids not to read. Could be a disaster. Never underestimate the power and the impact that a teacher can have on your life. I remember a teacher sat me down and told me something I didn't even know about myself. This teacher sat me down and told me, you got a lot of nervous energy. Like and I was like in middle school where you can't even be polite. You just got to get right to the point. Like they just sat me down. You got a lot of nervous energy. All right. You ever thought of drawing? Just channel it somehow. Right. I was like, oh no, I never thought to draw. I love anime. Yeah, maybe I'll draw. And I drew something and my teacher was like, draw something, bring it to me. You know, I'd like to see what you draw. And so I did. And when I showed my teacher my drawing, they were like, we're going to find something else. For you to do with your energy. All right. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think as guys, right? Like as men, I do think that we're like too confident in our ability. That's the end of the sentence. There's just like, as human dudes, there's no other species of male in anything. You could be a gazelle. A male, like gazelle. Do they make male gazelle? Anyway, you could be a male gazelle. There's no random day where you're gonna look at a lion and be like, he looked like he want to fight. Like, do you know what I mean? You know how every other male sees like an order to the world and functions in it? We're the only ones. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're the only ones. Maybe a female gazelle might fight a lion, and that's if the lion's already attacking her child. You know, she might step up, and even then, it's like 30%. So like, there's just some order to nature. I was hanging out with a friend. Turns to me, unprovoked. I had said nothing, and he goes, "You think you could fight a bear?" And I was like, what? No. It's the quickest no. No. It's a bear. You didn't ask me about a cub. In the scenario you given me, a bear wants to fight me. And I'm gonna fight the bear and win? Like, no. And I asked her, I was like, do you think you could fight a bear? And he was like, well, if I came at it right. I'm like, don't even finish the sentence. If I came at it right. What are you saying right now? If I came at it right. That's the great, according to experts, the only way to come at it is to pretend to already be dead. What do you mean if the bear came at you like a bear, you would die. I would bet money on it. That's crazy. And then he got irate with me. He got all defensive, started attacking me. He was like, so you would just let a bear kill you? I'm like, what are we talking about? What do you mean, let a bear? It's a bear. You picked a bear. You didn't even pick something I might have a chance against, like a stray cat. You went straight to bear. Do you think you could fight a bear? Oh, you just gonna let a bear kill you? Look, if I went home, if this is how confident I am a bear would kill me, I don't go where bears are. You don't catch me anywhere out in the world where the bears will be. In fact, if there was a bear when I went home in my apartment, that's a bear's apartment now. And I'm good with that. I'm willing to let that bear have my couch. That's fine. Everything in the fridge is his now. Crazy. Crazy talk. And look, I'm not acting like there isn't a place I could step up. When it comes to bugs, I could be braver. I will say that. When it comes to bugs, I could step up a little bit. Because if a bug is too big, I will take a step back. Just to try to assess what it is. Because sometimes, like, I don't have the best eyes, but sometimes you see like 9 legs or something, you're like, what is that? Before I step on it, what is this? Is it an alien? You know? I remember there was one day, I had a fly in my apartment, and it was the plague of my life. I didn't know how the fly got in my apartment, and it had the loudest wings. It might as well have been bird wings. It was the loudest fly I've ever heard, and it would get like right next to my ear, which was making me flinch. Like it did kind of punk me in a little, because I had the fly swatter ready, and it would be in the ear that was like the flies. So that I would be looking for it, like, and I'd be like, oh. And it was all day. It was all day I was trying to kill it. All, like, top to bottom all day. And then it was so gross, because then I was like hitting myself with the fly swatter, because I was like, at some point, if I swing back, I might catch it. And then it was hitting my ear. So I was beating myself. And then I finally was like, let me just go take a shower, cool off, because I had to go somewhere that night. So I get in the shower, take a shower. I don't know when the fly came in the bathroom. I don't know if it came in through a vent or through the door with me, but then the fly came at me while I was in the shower. Now this is attempted murder, because I am on wet porcelain. I cannot mess around right now. If I fall in this shower and I die, and my killer is a fly, and I die like a bad Dr. Seuss. Anyway, I finished my shower. I, swatting them off, everything still, and then I open the curtain. It's right there. I'm exhausted. I'm naked. I'm wet. I grab my towel, and I like spin my towel, get it really tight, right? I don't even care if you believe me. It's one of the proudest days of my life. I spun my towel as hard as I could, and then I popped it at the fly, and right at the end, right at the tip, it popped the fly and killed it. And I'm not gonna lie to you. In that moment, I was like, I think I could fight a bear. Like, I do. I'm just saying, if I had a towel, I have a chance. Okay, look, when I say it, it's not gonna sound true. But believe me, all right? I really thought that when I saw Drake leaks trending, it was gonna be music. I was so sure that it was gonna be music. I was like, stuff leaks all the time. Let's listen to this album before it comes out. And I know a lot of people thought that. I'm not alone. A lot of other people said, they were like, you thought it'd be music too. I was like, yeah, I thought it'd be music. And in case you don't know who Drake is, I don't know how, but in case you don't know who Drake is, he's a rapper. And in case you don't know about the Drake leak,
Drake leak was trending, and then I clicked it, and you just see a lot of Drake. It's a lot of Drake. It's a lot of Drake. It's more Drake than I thought there was Drake. You know what I mean? And I want to be clear about something, okay? Because I know it's weird, but a bad thing happened. Someone's nudes were leaked, and that should never happen. It should truly never happen. Everyone deserves autonomy for their body. I know he's like a rich man, so it's easier to like let it slide, and it's different. It feels different, at least, when it's like a woman's nudes. But still, he didn't want that out there, and it's out there, which is a shame. You know, so I felt very conflicted because I was like, that's a shame that somebody would do that. You know? And then on the other hand, I was like, all right, but like, no more sad songs. Like, I don't... You know what I mean? Like, if I had a friend that was built like Drake, I would never let him cry to me. About anything. I'm not gonna lie. It would always be burned in my brain. I'd be like, hey, everybody daddy dies sometimes, okay? Cheer up and look down. I read this report that they want to NASA's trying to make contact, you know, with some intelligent life, and we really tried everything. We tried so many different things, and we haven't just spent billions of dollars. If you count every country that's had success leaving the atmosphere, going into space, we spent trillions of dollars as a people. It's an endeavor that's been as old as the ages to like make contact and make sure, or at least find out that we're not alone in the entire universe, right? So they send out signals. They've used radio waves. They've used light, images, everything that they can think of. Every like telescopic endeavor's been tried. And so now NASA, I'm not even kidding, you can look this up. NASA's like, we gon' send nudes. We're gonna send nudes out because that might do it. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a big deal. We have not tried that yet. We've been out here sending old 1920s radio wave. I don't know, my baby. Like, we've tried all that stuff, and it didn't do anything. So let's send nudes and see. Wouldn't it be wild if it worked, though? Wouldn't it be crazy if, like, a month later, aliens landed and they were like, titties is all you had to say? I mean, if we had known that there were titties, that we would have come. It feels, you know what I mean? Like, just say you're out of ideas. Smartest minds in the world. Smartest ones on the planet. And they're like, maybe this feels weird. And I know what I said before, and I meant that. But since they're already out, maybe send the Drake leak, maybe, I don't know. And look, not out of context. Send a copy of Take Care. And send the Drake video and just see what the aliens think. They might come. They might be like... I also read a report that says that Viagra may lower the risk of Alzheimer's. which is kind of bad news when you think about it. Like, is that really what the world needs? Just a bunch of old men, hard and aware? You know what I mean? I thought that as men, we had a pact with the earth. We would wreak havoc for the first, 50 years of our lives, and then after a while, we'd slow down. We'd get confused. And we would not be hard anymore. That's how you restore balance to the planet. Imagine an evil dude. Because we do this all the time. Being old is supposed to be the saving grace of your life. Especially as a man. As a man, love is very conditional from the world, right? You're born a baby. We all love babies. You become a kid. A lot of people love kids. Then you're a man. And then everyone's like, it's your fault, right? Even if you don't have power, you look like the ones that do. And so it's like, oh, I'll just lump you in, right? Then you get old. And then you getting old is we can love you again. It's true. You get old, and then people are like, what's he gonna do? We've seen it. We've seen horrible, evil men get old, and somehow all is forgiven. We've watched literal war criminals turn 99, and it's like, well, he's not doing anything now. He's a fucking war criminal. He don't remember, though. Why does that get him a pass? He doesn't remember. Now you just feed them Viagra so they can be evil longer. Literally. We have to stop this. This is crazy.
Have y'all been keeping up with this Jonah Hill thing? Yeah, okay, no. Okay, so real quick, if you don't know what it is, Jonah Hill's ex put out a bunch of his text messages to her while they were dating, and she was a surfer, she still is, and then they were dating while she was surfing, and it's him being like, why you gotta surf around men, and she's like a surfer and a surf instructor. It's like, why you gotta surf with men, and why you gotta post pictures of yourself surfing in a bikini and all that. So it was all this shit like that, right? And it just, you can see a decline in the text messages where he's clearly so worried about being cheated on, he's not making sense. He's like, why you gotta surf with dude? Because then if you're surfing and then he's surfing, what if y'all start surfing on each other? You know what I mean? And then y'all are surfing together, and what if you get surf in your mouth? And then now you were just covered in surf, and you come home and you're got surf on you. I was like, nigga, are you all right? So there's been a lot of backlash about him being narcissistic and misogynistic and everything. And I think Jonah Hill committed a cardinal sin. He really did. Jonah Hill told a woman what to do while being an ugly motherfucker. Can't do that shit. You cannot do that shit. Look at the text and then look at his face. You cannot tell anybody what to do, sir. That's too much bass in your text right now for that hairline you got, you know? I'm not gonna lie, if John Hamm had sent those same texts, if John Hamm was like, I don't want you talking to any other men, you'd be like, okay, daddy. Did y'all see the Alabama brawl? Yo, who knew Wakanda was in Alabama? That was crazy. That was wild. So many people came out of nowhere. That shit was like Black January 6th. That was like... That was crazy. If you didn't see the video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain it really quick. Basically, there was this one guy. He was an employee of the place, right? And he was like asking these people to move their boat, you know? So it was a black employee, but he was asking these people who happened to be white that had the boat to move their boat, and they wouldn't move the boat. I don't even know if this part is true, but I heard that the riverfront boat that was waiting to dock had been waiting for like 40 minutes because these people refused to move, right? So finally, he just keeps going, like, you gotta move the boat, you gotta move the boat. They get out of their boat, they're cursing at him, and he's not backing down. He's like, you have to move the boat. I work here. You have to move the boat. And then they just keep cursing at him. Finally, they put hands on him, and then they start fighting him. And he did his best. He held his own for quite a while. So it's not like they beat his ass, but they were clearly ganging up on this dude, right? And, you know, a lot of people, as soon as they saw the video, they got upset. I got upset once. I thought it was going to bum me out just seeing like 5 white dudes ganging up on this like middle-aged black dude and everything. And some people were upset about the racial part immediately. But I'm not going to lie. I was distracted. I wasn't. I didn't hate these people because they were ganging up on them and they were white. I hated them because they had a boat. You know what I mean? This isn't just a race thing. These rich fucks with a boat are trying to beat up a working class person. Is insane. You know, made me furious. And then they started fighting them, and then like other people came. And, you know, a lot of black people already saw what was happening. So then when the riverfront boat docked and other black people who saw what was happening, they all just swarmed. It looked like, like that one episode in Game of Thrones where, you know, they were losing, but then just more just came down the mountain. It was like, I was like, God damn, okay, wow. Send in the troops, apparently. I should back up. When the fight started, the initial fight where the dude was getting ganged up on, he just threw his hat. Just threw it, and that almost felt like a signal. That was, as a black person, I didn't know that was our call to arms. I didn't know this was like, oh, okay, all right, we go now. That was wild to begin with. Then it was crazy because then so many people swarmed in, it turned into a huge brawl, and I don't know if you saw a video, but there was one person that wanted to help when they saw him getting jumped so badly that this nigga swam. Jumped in the water. From the camera angle, we don't know where he came from. I'd like to think he came from Africa. I'd like to think he started swimming 6 weeks ago in preparation. Because look, if you know, the history of black people swimming, especially in the South, you know that we're not known for it. You know what I mean? And so I'm not gonna critique his swimming because I was just happy to see another black dude swim. That's just, every one of us swimming is a W, okay? But I do have to comment because he wasn't swimming normal. Did you see him swim? He wasn't swimming regular. This was not regular swimming, right? This man wasn't swimming to the fight. This man was punching the water till he got there. I knew he was gonna whoop ass when he got out of the water because he would. I've never seen someone punch water till they got to their location. That was so crazy. Go back and watch the video. This man punching with horsepower. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And then he gets out of the water, starts whooping ass, everybody whooping ass and everything. So you know that those white people, when it started fighting, then started more fighting, you know they were relieved when the cops got there, but they must have been conflicted because half the cops were black. Like that's a situation where even when the cops arrive, you're like, ooh, whose side are you on? Because I was kind of doing a thing before you got here. You know what I mean? Honestly, that's what's so wild. Because I think also, I've tried to put my mind in, I've tried to put myself in the mind of each person that was in the video in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a terrifying thing. To get jumped is a terrifying thing. then the person swimming. Then I'm just trying to think about every angle that I could think about it from. I'm not gonna lie, that must have been a huge surprise, because you out here ganging up on this one dude with your buddies, and then before you know it, there's just like 50 black people. That's Listen, I'm telling you right now, let's say y'all just blinked, and when you opened your eyes, there were 50 black people behind me. I'm not even saying you'd be scared, but you'd be surprised. You'd be like, wow, that was fast. That's all you'd say. You know? Because that's the thing. That's, I think, the strangest part, one of the weirdest parts, like when you start watching the video. Let's say you start watching the video, you had no context, nobody told you what was gonna happen, you hadn't seen any of the memes yet. The craziest thing about what happens is that, especially as a black person, I think some people are curious why black people have been memeing the shit out of it and everything. It's because if you know the South and you know the history of 5 white guys ganging up on a black guy and how that usually goes, you know, especially when they have enough money for a boat. Usually doesn't turn out well, you know what I mean? And so this was a different thing. This is a different outcome than we've ever really seen before, you know? Because I'll be honest with you. Let's say we're in a different time and there's no camera phones and they were able to leave before the cops got there. They would have just beat up that dude and left, you know? And that's my thing, where it's like, okay, yeah, whoop their ass, we all laugh, we all celebrate, whatever, but like, fuck up that boat. Like, fuck up the... What are you doing? Like, bust up the bow or something. Like, rip a rudder out, please. I do think that would hurt them more than the ass whooping. They just be standing there and looking like skippers. Not the boat! You know?
You know what's actually crazy? I thought about this weekend. You know what I've never done at all in my life? I had to really think about it. Never once in my life have I Googled Jada Pinkett Smith. So why do I know so much? Why do any of us know so much? Isn't that crazy? I've never even Googled Jada and Will. I've never sought any of this information. I know so much about them, it feels like we're related. It's devastating. I don't know if y'all saw the most recent interview. She's given her 1,000th. And in it, she says that she says so many things. First of all, she said that she sold crack when she lived in Baltimore, which is like believable. That's a very entry-level job in Baltimore. That part I was like, and? But then she also said her and Will have been separated for like 7 years. Which, what? She also said that Tupac is her soulmate. It's like she's going out of her way to hurt Will's feelings now. This is really insane. Tupac is your soulmate. You've been married for decades. My soulmate's a guy from the 90s. And the more I think about it, and the more I listen to Jada talk, the more that I'm convinced that Tupac died to get away from her. Like, I feel like... Easily. They dated for a while, you know what I mean? And then he got a taste of what Will has lived with. And then he was in Vegas and he got into it with some dudes on some gang shit and stuff like that. And they shot at him and he thought about what life would be like with Jada. And so he just leaned into the bullet. She said they haven't been together. Her and Will have not been together since 20 16, which does make the slap more confusing now. That's right, because like that, they haven't lived together since 2016. Now it feels less like you were defending your wife and more like you just wanted to hit Chris Rock. Like, turn that man to a tambourine for no reason. That's insane. It really is. Like, what? Not even defending your wife at this point. You were defending your neighbor, I guess. Haven't lived together since 2016. It also makes the entanglement more confusing now. Watching Will and Jada is just like the Black Inception. You know what I mean? It's just a nightmare and a nightmare and a nightmare. There's twists that nobody asked for. What? Entanglement. Because then, this is my thing. If they weren't together, why'd they have that whole talk acting like they were together? It made them look worse. Why did they do that? It made her look like a cheater and him look like a cuck, but then they weren't together. So what's the big deal now? I mean, the big deal is that she fucked her son's friend, which is... A lot of people don't know that. That was Jaden's friend. So Jaden over there waiting for play dates and stuff. Ain't nobody showing up like it's a Brazzers video. It's so chaotic. No, it's just very chaotic. And look, I want to be fair for a second. I do want to be fair. Everyone comes for Jada and everybody shits on Jada so hard. And I get it. It's easy because she won't stop talking. But like, some of this is on Will. We can all agree about some of this is genuinely on Will. People blame Jada for the slap. That's not her fault. That's a grown man. And he got up there and he slapped another grown man. You can't blame her for that. It's not like she used her powers. And people blame a lot of the marriage stuff on just Jada. Will is also married to Jada. You know what I mean? He could get a divorce if he wants to, but he doesn't want to. He does not want, and if you pay attention to the interviews, he said it. Divorce is not an option. He'd rather them live as single people and still be married than to get a divorce. Which is weird. It is weird. I understand. For a long time, they were the symbol of black love, especially in Hollywood, right? And that's a symbol that he carefully curated that maybe she didn't want to be a part of, but it's one of the reasons he can't let it go, because it's a failure that he will not accept, right? But to just live as two single people but still be married is weird. It's very odd. Who is it for? It's not for them. They're not together. It's not for us, because now she aired it out. Everybody knows. It's not for the kids, because they're already weird. So who is this for? And like, I mean, it must be rough. I do get it. I have empathy for both of them genuinely, because I think Will, you know, came on strong, wants to make it work and everything, and Jada was just not having it. And a part of me, you know, I'm wrapping up, but just a part of me, a part of me gets it. Because if it's not the life that she wanted, it shouldn't be the life she accepted. That's fair. You're an adult in the world and you make your own decisions and you need to live by them, right? But also, to be fair to her, I don't have a gorgeous millionaire trying to fuck me and marry me. I don't know. It probably seems pretty hard to turn down. I'm not gonna lie. Like if Zendaya walked in here right now and y'all look like you're together, if she told you, bro, if she was like, I want to marry you and be with you for the rest of my life, you'd probably be like, look, I'm in a happy relationship and I found my happiness. I hope you find yours. I'm not saying it'd be easy to say to her. You'd probably say it after I do, but I don't know if y'all saw, but Sam Bankman-Fried was found guilty on all charges. If you don't know who Sam Bankman-Fried is, he's the dude who looked like somebody microwave Shia LaBeouf. He was behind a multi-billion-dollar crypto scandal, and you know, took a lot of people's money. Got had a lot of powerful friends, so he could take a lot of people's money. He was found guilty. And, you know, he made a serious mistake. He stole money from rich people. Well, when you think about it, it's really all he did wrong. If you steal from the poor, you're going to be pretty good off. Like, I don't know. This dude is going to go away for a long time, which is crazy because I don't really understand what he did. But I'm glad he didn't do it to me. I'm like, you ever just, because I never got into crypto because I didn't understand it, so you ever just be so dumb you miss a whole tragedy? You just, because I saw the whole thing coming. I was having FOMO and everything, and then everybody started losing their money. I was like, maybe it pays to not read sometimes. Maybe it's to my benefit that I have stayed as ignorant as possible on very specific subjects in life. I was having a conversation with a friend from back home, and so many things worked in connection together to get me where I am. I saw this article about this guy. I think his name's, I might be mispronouncing it, but Brian Mwende, and he is in Kenya, and he was a lawyer. He was a fake lawyer. And he won 26 cases straight. 26 cases straight, one after the other. WWWW. And then they finally caught him. And now he is awaiting trial, where I pray he represents himself. That's phenomenal. 26. You got fake, and apparently it's a whole thing. I didn't know this. In Kenya, this is a whole thing. There are a bunch of fake lawyers, because he was just the first one. There's a bunch of fake lawyers that just never actually passed the bar, but they've been practicing. I guess they got a storefront or something. Like, I don't know, you just walk in and you're like, you seem like a lawyer. You know, the only way I know any lawyer has been a lawyer that I've ever worked with was the paper on the wall behind their desk. If that's fake, I have a fake lawyer. That's my favorite story, though. My favorite thing that happened was Paris Fashion Week. If y'all aren't familiar, Paris has Fashion Week, and all these people high up in the fashion world, rich people, celebrities, they all descended on Paris for a week to see and be seen and stuff. And while they were there was an outbreak of bed bugs, which is hilarious. It couldn't be. You gathered all the richest people in the world together in one place and gave them bed bugs? Are we sure this wasn't an activist? You sure this wasn't Greta Thunberg trying new things? You know what I mean? Just her sitting there like, you take a jet, you pays the price. You know, could have been, we don't know. But it was amazing. They gave all those rich people bed bugs. It made me laugh so hard because it's Fashion Week, so half of them dress like bed bugs to begin with. So like, bed bugs probably thought it was mating season, you know what I mean? They were seeing them walk by like, okay, come through, thickness. I'm gonna take a bite of you later. But no, people from Fashion Week spoke to the press and the public. People from the local government spoke to the press and the public and everything. And mostly everyone was trying to maintain a sense of calm the entire time, right? We're very sorry that this is happening. This is not a reflection on our beautiful city. We're doing our best to move people. Just please stick with us, right? But there was one person that was my favorite. The deputy mayor also spoke to the public and the press. But when the deputy mayor came out, he was like, it's an outbreak. No one is safe. What kind of leader says no one is safe? We just came out of a global pandemic where no country's leader said no one is safe, even when no one was safe. That's crazy. Then the mayor, because the mayor came out, she was ready. She was like prim, proper. She made me feel reassured I wasn't even in Paris, right? And then she got this assistant-ass mayor behind her. No one is safe. She's probably like, get him out of here. It's crazy. No one is safe. Every leader I've ever had has tried to maintain a sense of calm in a crisis. I remember when I was in middle school, in English class. And English class was after lunch. And I had seen this kid at lunch, and he had a nasty ass lunch. I don't know what it was, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, he gonna be sick. That is disgusting. And so then I sat as far away from him as I could, corner of the classroom. And then middle of class, sure enough, his stomach started bubbling. And we all hear it. He just over here taking notes like, looking at us like, y'all don't hear me, right? It's like, of course we hear you. His stomach is loud as hell. And then in the middle class, he jumps up and runs out. And on the way to running out, because he was very sick, he threw up on the back of like 7 kids' heads. And our teacher said, calm down. I know y'all just got thrown up on. Let me get some towels. It's gonna be fine. She didn't say, no one is safe. You see what I mean? I worked at an Italian restaurant that burned down, right? It burned down, and even as the head chef was trying to put the flames out on his back, no one yelled, no one is safe. We just tried to put this man out. Actually, one of my favorite things about when that happened was, okay, so the chef is on fire, right? Like, and then the line cook ran out to the dining hall where everybody else was, and then just yelled to the whole dining hall, we on fire, motherfuckers! Which is like as informative as it is unhelpful. Like, he's telling them the details, but not enough to get them moving. Also, we are not on fire, just he is on fire. Some of the building is on fire, but mostly as we, it's just him. He on fire by himself, right? And so no one knows what to do, because even if someone ran in now and was like, we on fire, motherfuckers, you wouldn't immediately jump up and run. They looked at him and they were like, so is he on drugs or what's And it wasn't until the chef ran out behind him out the door with a couple flames still on his back that everybody cleared out. He yelled, we on fire, motherfuckers. He didn't yell, no one is safe. What would even possess you to put the words to get to the public, no one is safe? Like, when I think about it, now that I think about it, I think that was that deputy mayor low-key admitting he had bed bugs. That's what it was. It had to be, no one is safe. That means I'm not safe. That's, no one is safe. I wish there was video. There's no video of it happening. But you can tell that this is the case because anytime one of our leaders has to speak to us, they're calm because it's not their problem. That's what's happening. I grew up in Louisiana. Our whole state would get slammed by hurricanes, and the governor would come on TV and be like, we're gonna stick in this together, all right? We're all in this together. He's clearly in Massachusetts, by the way. We're all in this together, all right? Y'all just stick with me, we're gonna get through this. You know what I mean? I think that dude freaked out because it was his problem. It's hard to stay calm when you're in the middle of something, you know? I wish there was video. There's no video. I wish he would just come out, because you know he yelled it. You know, he was like, no one is safe. It's happening to everybody, including really cool people who don't deserve this. God damn, I wish there was a video just to see him be like, it's an outbreak, y'all. We doing our best, but this is bullshit.
I thought I had it all figured out, you know. I was sexting. And sexting's a very precarious situation. You want to make sure you're sexting at the right time, you know? Because if it's like 8 o'clock, you still got other people texting you, you know? You don't want to accidentally send a text that's incoming to somebody because you opened the thing. You know what I mean? And it's also like, what if you're not that skilled? Like, what if I'm not good texting with just my left hand? Now you texting typos and stuff. It's knocking the sexy right out of your sexting. You know, it's like, I'm gonna fud your bass. It's like, nobody's into it now. You know? So I had an idea. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I didn't talk to anybody about it. I had never heard anybody doing this, but in my mind, it was the best thing to do. I was like, I'm just gonna speak to text. So that way I don't gotta worry about the other hand and everything, and I can just like get in the zone and stuff. I don't have to worry about other people texting me and everything. And it went horribly wrong. Because I wasn't at home. I was at my childhood home. So I was in my room, but it wasn't my house, you know? And it was, 9 o'clock or so, and we were sexted that, look, I'll read you the thing right now. This is what okay. All right. So she's like, oh, okay. And what's good? What would you do if you were here right now? And then I was like, girl, I would tear those clothes off. And Mom, what are you doing in here? Mom, I had the door closed. You can't just open the door. I was just coming to see if you wanted dinner. No, I'm okay. Mom, get out right now. Boy, how you gonna tell me to get out somewhere in my house? I'm sorry, Mom, please, can you please leave and close the door? You know we don't have closed doors in this house. Which is true, that's a very black family thing of you not closing the door in my house. What you up to in there? And I was like, Mama, please leave, please, please leave. And she was like, all right, what's the big deal? I was like, nothing, Mom, just please get out of here. So anyway, girl, I would say... All right, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night.